It was supposed to be just another debate. Cameras were set. The crowd was buzzing. Everyone expected sharp words, maybe a few viral moments, but no one expected what actually happened. That night at Howard University, something changed. Something big. The kind of moment that doesn't just live online for a day, it sticks. It stings and it rewrites the game. The Crane Auditorium was packed. Over 2,500 people, students, professors, journalists, influencers filled the room, shoulder to shoulder. Phones were out. Everyone knew this debate was being called the future of Black politics in America. It wasn't just about ideas. It was about power, truth, and who really speaks for the community. Candace Owens came in like a storm, dressed in her signature red blazer. She walked on stage with that familiar confidence, the kind she's built her brand on. With millions of followers and a reputation for calling out liberals, she didn't come to talk. She came to crush. Across from her sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Still watching a former public defender who made her name not on TV, but in courtrooms, standing up for people with no one else to fight for them. She wasn't here for the spotlight. She was here for the facts. Owens thought she was walking into a victory lap. She'd done this 100 times. Loud voice, sharp lines, viral clips. But this time was different. This time, she wasn't the smartest one in the room. The crowd could feel it. Tension thick in the air. A clash was coming, and not the one Owens had planned. By the time the night ended, only one woman would walk away respected. The other would be left searching for a way to undo what millions had just seen. And trust me, social media never forgets. Candace Owens didn't waste a single second. Before the moderator could even finish her welcome, Owens stepped forward, grabbed the mic, and swung hard. Her voice was sharp, loud, full of fire. She looked around the crowd and called Howard University a breeding ground for victimhood. Then, without blinking, she turned toward Jasmine Crockett and said, "And Congresswoman Crockett is their newest overseer on the Democratic plantation." The room reacted fast. Boos rang out from one corner, while a few cheers echoed from the back. Students shifted in their seats. Professors narrowed their eyes. Phones were already out, recording. But Jasmine Crockett, she didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She just smiled. Calm, cold. Ready? That moment, just that smile, was the first sign that Owens might have underestimated what she'd walked into. This wasn't Owens' first time using that kind of language. She'd built an entire image of it. She'd called Black Democrats slaves to the system, accused them of race baiting, and painted herself as the one who escaped the so-called plantation. Her followers ate it up. She was used to packed conservative crowds who cheered every punchline, who stood on cue when she mocked liberal policies. But tonight wasn't Turning Point USA. Tonight, she wasn't in front of people who already agreed. With her, she was at Howard Crockett's turf, Crockett's alma mater. These weren't strangers. These were her people, her professors, her former classmates. And Owens had just insulted all of them. Still, Owens kept going, charging into her first attack like it was a speech, not a debate. She pulled out numbers: poverty rates in Black communities, crime stats in cities like Detroit and Baltimore. She blamed Democrat leadership for it all. "Tell me," she said, turning to Crockett, "how do you sleep at night knowing you vote for the same broken policies that keep your people poor?" It was Owens' favorite move: hit hard, corner her opponent, wait for them to explode or stumble. But Crockett didn't do either. She sat still, took a breath, and reached for her notes. Then she started fact-checking, slowly, calmly, like someone who's done this in real life, under pressure, with lives on the line, not just for social media clicks. She didn't shout. She didn't match Owens' energy. She didn't need to. Crockett explained how Owens was quoting old data, ignoring context. She brought up recent improvements in those very cities, led by new Democratic policies. Then she looked straight at her and said, "Miss Owens, I sleep well, because I fight for the people you use for content." The crowd leaned in. Some students started Googling what Crockett said live right there. One of them posted a tweet. Owens just cited poverty stats from 2010. Current numbers show clear. Progressl, it started getting traction fast. Phones started lighting up around the auditorium as the tweet spread. You could feel the shift. The cheers Owens counted on were quieter now. Few claps from her corner, sure, but the rest of the room? Silent, watching, measuring, so she pushed harder. She ditched the stats and went personal. "At least I'm not bought by George Soros," she snapped. "Unlike you, Congresswoman, you're just a token." And just like that, everything stopped. The word token hit the air like a slap. Some people gasped out loud. A few students near the front shook their heads in disgust. Even the moderator looked caught off guard, but Crockett, still calm. She leaned forward, adjusted her mic, and asked softly, "Repeat that. Did you just call me a token?" Owens tried to double down. "The shoe fits," she shrugged, "and that's..." When Crockett stopped smiling, she didn't yell. She didn't throw a punchline. She simply began breaking Owens, piece by piece. She asked how someone who claims to care about Black communities never once mentions real Republican successes. She pointed out how Owens' own schooling came from a well-funded white district, while she criticizes inner-city funding. She brought up Owens' old blog where she trashed Trump, then suddenly flipped and became his loudest defender when the checks started coming. Crockett wasn't debating. She was prosecuting, not with emotion, but with evidence, and the audience felt it. Conservative students who had cheered Owens earlier now shifted in their chairs. Her usual applause lines, flat, her insults, tiring. Something had changed, everyone saw it. Candace Owens came to start a fire. Jasmine Crockett came with water, facts, and the calm of someone who had nothing to prove, just something to defend. And the crowd knew the difference. Jasmine Crockett straightened her shoulders and leaned forward like a prosecutor about to deliver the verdict. The room held its breath. This was no longer a back-and-forth debate. This was her moment to lay out the truth and watch it land. She started by holding up a tablet and scrolling through images. "Miss Owens," she said, voice calm but fierce, "let's talk facts." First, she brought up Owens' old blog posts attacking Donald Trump particles, where Owens called him a monster, warned about his behavior toward women. The crowd murmured as pictures of those posts flashed on the screen. Then in 2017, Crockett continued, "You became his biggest defender. Tell me what changed. Did Trump become less a monster? Or did checking your bank account matter more?" The question hung heavy. Owens shifted, eyes flicking away. Crockett didn't wait for an answer. She moved on to the next piece of evidence, a list of speaking fees. "Your fees went from nothing to $50,000 a speech once you told white conservatives exactly what they wanted to hear." The audience gasped as numbers appeared, tens of thousands, lined up like cold, hard proof. "This isn't about courage," she said. "It's about cash." Owens' face tightened, but Crockett pressed on. She asked about the financial aid Owens accepted to go to college programs designed to help Black students. "You used that aid," Crockett said softly, scrolling through a photo of Owens in graduation robes. "But now you oppose similar programs for today's students." Silence rippled through the room. No one moved. Then Crockett turned to education. She compared Owens' high schooler well-funded private academy in a wealthy, mostly white town against the city schools in Baltimore and Detroit. Your school had Olympic-sized pools and a college counselor for every student, Crockett reminded her, voice steady. Yet tonight, you tell kids in underfunded schools that money doesn't matter. The weight of that difference settled over everyone. Phones recorded, hands went to mouths. But the real blow came when Crockett held up a screenshot of an old Owens tweet about George Floyd. The words glowed on the tablet. He died of a drug overdose. Not because of a knee on his neck. A hush fell. Crockett's eyes met Owens. You said the media lied about everything, she said. Do you stand by that now? The only sound was a few whispers. Crockett didn't leave it there. She read out loud the jury's verdict. Derek Chauvin convicted of murder. She quoted 2 medical examiners who ruled Floyd died from neck compression. She even referenced the 9 minutes and 29 seconds. The officer knelt on him, describing how Floyd cried out for his mother. Each fact landed like a hammer. Every eye in that auditorium watched Owens' face go from confident red to pale. Then Crockett looked at the crowd one last time and spoke as if she were delivering a closing argument in court. Miss Owens, she said, voice cold, you chose followers over facts. You chose brand over justice. The words cut through. The air? A single student sniffled, then another. Hands went up to cheeks. Tears sparkled under the lights, and then it happened. One person stood. Then another. Soon, half the auditorium was on its feet, clapping slowly, deliberately. This wasn't a planned cheer. It was respect, real respect for someone who spoke. Truth when no one else dared. Candace Owens fumbled her notes. She tried to lift her chin to summon the smug smile she wore at Turning Point USA events. But her voice came out flat. At least I stand alone, she blurted. You need the liberal mob to cheer you on. The room groaned. A few polite claps from her supporters, but the power was gone. Her words bounced harmlessly off the walls. Crockett waited until Owens' words faded, then delivered the knockout line. There's a difference between being independent and being for sale. The silence was thunderous. Then the crowd erupted, a wave of cheers, whistles, and applause that shook the seats. The moderator raised her hand, voice cracking slightly. We need a commercial break. But no one cared about the break. Phones were already uploading clips. Twitter exploded. Hashtag Crockett destroys Owens was trending before the cameras even cut. Candace Owens stepped back, stunned. Her team shuffled papers. Her makeup glistened with sweat. Behind her, the documentary crew panned the crowd's reaction instead of her. The woman who came to dominate the debate had been outplayed, outsmarted, and outclassed all by remaining calm and armed with facts. That night, the world watched. Not a performance, but a lesson. When someone comes armed with truth, there's no hiding behind noise. And Jasmine Crockett. She didn't just win a debate. She showed what real leadership looks like. When the cameras came back from commercial, something had changed. You could feel it in the room. Candace Owens, who had walked on stage with the confidence of a headliner, now looked smaller somehow. Her shoulders were tense. Her smile was gone. The fire in her voice had cooled. Even her words, usually so sharp-landed, dull. She kept trying to go back to her talking points, tossing out lines about the liberal mob and waking people up, but no one was buying it anymore. The audience that once buzzed with energy had turned quiet, watching, but no longer impressed. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett didn't celebrate. She didn't laugh. She didn't rub it in. She returned to the issues. Calm and steady, she spoke about real policy, how criminal justice reform must protect communities without throwing lives away, how education needs more than numbers on a spreadsheet, how the fight for equity is personal because she lived it. She looked out into the crowd and spoke to them like they mattered, not like they were props for a viral moment. And that's what made the difference. The reaction was powerful. More standing ovations, more students wiping tears. Young black students, some still holding up their phones, nodded quietly and whispered, "That's the kind of leader we need." Professors leaned back with pride. Even some of Owens' supporters were noticeably silent, their arms crossed, their eyes down. Outside the auditorium, social media exploded. The hashtag Crockett destroys Owens hit the top of the trending list before the debate even ended. Clips flooded TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. That one moment where Crockett said, "There's a difference between being independent and being for sale," became a viral soundbite. Memes of Owens' stunned face spread like wildfire. Her usual defenders tried to spin it, calling the debate unfair, saying the crowd was biased, but even they didn't sound convinced. The fallout came fast. Crockett's campaign donations skyrocketed overnight. Her inbox flooded with support. Journalists, voters, and students alike saw her as something real in a world of noise. On the other side, Owens quietly started deleting videos. Some of her most extreme tweets disappeared too. She didn't address it. She didn't explain. She just erased them, like hoping no one would notice. But the internet noticed. And it remembered. College campuses that once booked Owens for speeches started backing out. A few events were canceled. Others postponed without dates. The title of her next book, once proudly named Leaving the Democrat Plantation, was quietly changed to something softer, less loaded. It was clear something had cracked. Media outlets picked up the story fast. CNN called the debate a turning point for black political discourse. MSNBC praised Crockett for proving that receipts matter more than noise. Even international news covered it. The BBC ran a segment titled, "When Facts Win the Fight." Conservative media, though, mostly silent. A few weak articles, few hosts moved on to other topics. And Tucker Carlson, once a big Owens supporter, didn't mention the debate at all. But the most powerful moment came days later. In an interview, Jasmine Crockett was asked how it felt to destroy Candace Owens. She paused for a second, then said, "I didn't go to destroy anyone. I went to defend the truth. That's all. No ego, no bragging, just purpose." And that's what made this night more than just a viral moment. This wasn't just about two women arguing on a stage. It was about how we talk to each other. It was about what kind of voices we want to lead us. Owens built a brand on calling people names. Crockett built her career defending them. One chased the spotlight. The other chased justice. And in front of thousands, it was clear which one mattered more. Candace Owens made a living by tearing others down. That night, she learned the hard way: followers fade, but facts don't.